Okay, each one of us is a unique human being with our own needs and wants in life. And yet we have this clickbait. I don't say clickbait, but everyone gets all excited because this is the one solution for everybody. If you could only work on debt snowball, then you would solve your debt problems. When in reality, you're a unique individual that should be addressed that way.
Welcome to One with the Other Way, a podcast about your journey and finances. I'm your host, James, and today we're talking about debt consolidation, and if a debt consolidation loan is right for you. Hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to One with the Other Way, a podcast about your journey and finances. I'm your host, James, and today we have Wanda with us. Today we're talking about debt consolidation, so let's kick it off.
All right. Debt consolidation. That is actually one of my favorite topics. I can't tell you how many times people come in and they're like, hey, I need to consolidate a little bit of debt. So before you get into that, what I like you to do is to think about exhaling and thinking about, I heard someone, Simon Sinek, I think, and he talks about your why. What is your why? And I think that's an important part of the debt consolidation discussion, and I'm going to come back to that, I think. So when you think about debt consolidation, I want you to think about, number one, how long you have been in debt. Normally, it's years. How long have you been in debt? And then the second thing is this year's debt more than last year's debt? In other words, if you were $10,000 last year, are you $11,000? And be honest with yourself. Look at all your debt, all your credit cards, and say, is this year's debt greater than last year's debt? The important thing here is if it's greater, and it will probably be greater, so be honest, then you'll find that you're overspending your budget. And then we need to look at cash flow. Before you even think about debt consolidation, those are the two things you need to address. How long you've been in debt, and what is this debt in relationship to last year's debt? Because if it's more, then you're overspending. And it's not really a problem. It's just a speed bump. You need to address it. If you do not address it before you get into this debt consolidation picture, you will be in worse position next year than you are this year. And so frequently you say, oh, I'll do a debt consolidation. And then you'll find that you'll have credit cards. You must figure out a way to get your spending line lower than the amount of your income. And again, we talk a lot about consulting a financial advisor. Consulting a financial advisor is important because it takes the emotion out of it. It allows another person to say this, not that. Not in a judgmental way, in a way that we're trying to figure out how to get you to the next place. So I referenced that concept of what is your why. And so if I were to look at your spending picture, the question to ask is, how does that fit into your why? And if you can figure out that part of it, then that's going to help you figure out how to lower the amount of spending you're doing, because the spending should relate, again, to the why. So again, how long have you been in debt? And is this year's debt higher than last year's? Those questions need to be answered in black and white for you. I'm going to set those aside, those hard questions that have to be addressed. And then I want to talk about how much a debt consolidation loan then really costs you. Frequently you hear that it's in that terms of percentage. What's a percentage? Oh, look, my credit card debt is 22%, but my debt consolidation is 7%. But normally debt consolidation loans are set loans over a period of time. You will pay that interest rate over a period of time. And many of us are very ambitious and we think to ourselves, oh, I will pay it off early. But your past actions generally are a reflection of your future actions, generally. So if in the past you've had difficulty paying off credit card debt early on time, then you're probably going to have some issues or some sticking points with paying off a debt consolidation. So trust yourself that you're going to consolidate the debt and you will probably pay that interest for the entire period of time of the debt consolidation loan. So when you think about the cost of the debt consolidation loan, you want to think about that. And then how does my credit card debt fit into my debt consolidation? Because that's an additional cost. Just because I get a consolidation loan doesn't mean that I put away my credit cards. In general, I still carry my credit cards and still use them at my restaurants, at my gas stations. And so, how does my new credit card debt fit into my cash flow picture when I have a debt consolidation loan that's taking a set amount of money every month? And again, finding out the mechanics of if my credit card bill generally runs about $1,000 a month, and you can look at your historical data to see how much your credit card bill runs. If it runs $1,000 a month or whatever that number is, that has to get incorporated into this idea of cost of the consolidation loan. Because now I've added a consolidation loan as an additional expenditure to my credit card debt. So two things are going on here. And again, with the first one, the concept we like to think is we're going to pay it off early, yet we are not, because we've had issues in the past of paying off credit card bill. And the second thing, which a lot of people don't address, is how is this credit card bill going to fit into this new way of being with this consolidation loan? And I talked about this idea of the why. I think you can get a lot of information and a lot of help for, as you look at your debt consolidation, or should I or shouldn't I, if you think about it in terms of the why. Why are you here? What are you spending on? And is that really fitting into your why of who you are? Which I'd love to talk more about the why, because as I've mentioned previously, money is just a tool to give us the life that we want. And as a financial advisor, my role is to provide you clarity so that you can have the life that you want, and that money can be a supporting cast for who you want to be, or the why and the purpose of your own life. And again, having a great financial advisor, I think, helps clarify that for us. I kind of went on a little bit of
You
a
went on
roll, didn't I?
you went on a huge roll with that, and I want to make sure that it's fluid and that people understand kind of where we're going with it. I guess some questions that instantly kind of pop out. I mean, we mentioned the why, how we got here to this
Yes.
point. My first question that pops out that people might ask is a consolidation loan for everybody?
So the answer is no. More often than not, it is not an answer, because consolidation loans have the value that they kick the problem down the road. So if I haven't addressed this cash flow issue, what the consolidation loan says is, let me consolidate what I've done here without addressing where I really am in terms of my life and what's important to me. So that's your first question. It's a consolidation loan for everyone. No, it's not. It needs to be evaluated in your personal situation to determine if it's of service to you and if it fits into your life.
The second question that I'm thinking of next then is eligibility. One, does it work for all types of debt, and who is an eligible person for a consolidation loan?
Right. So you always want to think, and perhaps it's a little bit cynical of me, is when you're thinking about a consolidation loan, who is it good for? A lot of people want to give you credit cards because 50% of us, they know statistically, will not be able to pay our credit card bill in a period of time. So when you think about a consolidation loan, it's the same thing. There's a business out there for you to do a consolidation loan, and you can qualify for a consolidation loan. Pretty much anyone can qualify for it. The question is how much interest they're going to charge. They're going to assess the risk, and there's two questions they're going to ask is, if you're a high risk person, do you have the means and the ability to pay it off? And the second is, do you have the cash flow? And in general, banks and financial institutions that give you consolidation loans want you to have a certain amount of income, and they want the debt servicing, what they call debt servicing, mortgages and credit card bills and that kind of thing, to be only 40% of your, something like 35 to, I've seen it as high as 45%. So the bank says, if you're making $100 every month, you shouldn't pay more than 45% on what they call debt servicing. Again, any liability that you might have. And that number, 45%, will vary by the financial institution. And I've seen it as high as, like I said, 45%, which I think is pretty high. But they will approve for you for a loan, and then they'll assess the interest rate based on the risk. But you have to ask yourself, the question is, who is served by you getting a consolidation loan? Does that answer the
Yeah,
question, I think?
that answers the question because I mean you brought up kind of what my next question was going to be about interest rates and what to expect. And
Mm-hmm.
I think then my next question that kind of comes is,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, I get a consolidation loan. Person A gets consolidation loan. How
Mm-hmm.
does this affect their whole financial picture? Would getting a consolidation loan affect someone's credit score, for instance?
Credit scores are not as important as they have been marketed. Again, it's that cynical part of me that says, why are credit scores so important when 10 years ago nobody was talking about them on a value perspective? And maybe you want to listen to our podcast about credit scores in more detail. But broadly, credit scores are based on your payments and are you doing them on time? Are you making your payments? And the type of loan it is. And so a consolidation loan doesn't necessarily adversely affect it as long as the other stuff is out there being maintained. And that type of loan is actually considered a higher quality loan than a fluctuating credit card bill, interestingly
Hmm.
enough, right? But it is a new credit. And so that's going to be something that pulls the score down a little bit.
Next question I have is, can you consolidate all types of debt, or are there some debt that are not able to be consolidated?
Yeah, that's really going to be dependent on the financial services, whether it's the bank or the credit union, that kind of thing. They will they will consolidate everything pretty much, but it is whether or not it's to your best interest. So if you
Mm.
consider it for a moment, I'm going to do a debt consolidation, and I'm going to do a debt consolidation for, I make up a number like 10 years, right? So that I can make the payments, and the payments are affordable in my monthly budget. Then I can take my car and consolidate my car into that loan. But the interest rate is probably higher because there's not an asset behind that loan amount. Generally, consolidation loans don't have assets, and so the bank takes a higher risk. A car, you can get a lower interest rate because there's an asset. The financial institutions will feel like they can seize the car if you don't make the payment.
Hmm.
So you have to ask them when you're looking at the consolidation loan is their incentive is to make it as high as possible so that they're collecting the interest from you. That's their incentive. And your incentive is to look at your picture with clarity to determine whether or not it's in your best interest to consolidate this to that. I'll give you another example that's used frequently. I see people consolidating loans with their mortgages. If I have some debt, right, a car loan that I'm going to be paying off in 6 years, and I consolidate that with my mortgage loan, which is a 30-year loan, then the interest that I pay on that car is going to be pulled through a 30-year period of time. So it's going to be very expensive, even though the interest rate on the surface looks cheaper than the interest rate of the car loan. So stretching out a loan to consolidate it will cost you more. And again, that's something that you need to address. There's a lot of details in there that, again, a professional looking at the numbers might help you. You might see just the superficial numbers of like, what's the interest rate on this thing, right?
Hmm.
Does that answer the question? I
Yeah, that
think, yeah,
does.
yeah.
That does.
Mm.
Thank you for that. So, as we're talking about debt consolidation, I thought it'd be best to just also get your instant thoughts on some alternative options. One being Dave Ramsey's debt snowball idea, and I want to just get your instant thoughts on that.
Okay, each one of us is a unique human being with our own needs and wants in life. And yet we have this clickbait. I don't say clickbait, but everyone gets all excited because this is the one solution for everybody. If you could only work on debt snowball, then you would solve your debt problems. When in reality, you're a unique individual that should be addressed that way. And the best way to answer your debt questions is to answer your needs and your wants to get you to the next place. And that's what we want to do.
Thanks for having this conversation with me today. Do you have some quick takeaways for our audience just before we go?
Okay, so I'm going to have a real slow takeaway. Exhale. Oh my gosh. Exhale. You weren't in debt overnight. Stop and take a moment. After you've exhaled, let go of the shoulders. Go into your own place. Realize that you have probably not been in debt overnight. So candidly look at how long you've been in debt. And then take a look at this year's debt picture and be honest. How did it relate to last year's picture? Identify the number. And then provide yourself clarity in terms of, is the debt consolidation loan the best use of my resources, and how does it fit into my overall financial picture? Is debt, that debt consolidation isn't for everyone. Is it for you? And then do you need to get clarity? And maybe it is time for you to talk to a financial advisor to get the clarity you need to determine if the debt consolidation is for you and how does it fit into your life now and in your future. Okay, so Celia's here, and she's in Florida, and she has a beautiful, beautiful home here. So she's given me the ability to do my podcast from her home. So, and I appreciate you, and I love that you've let me be part of your journey. I think that's pretty awesome.
I'm so happy that our paths crossed.
I was going to say, I'm going to go join you in the flower bed here.
We're doing a little bit of gardening here.
Yes,
I love
it's
it.
beautiful outside.
It is.
What are you gardening today?
Oh, I am bringing in the Christmas cheer. So I've got poinsettias I'm putting in with a little bit of baby's breath. I've just snipped over some beautiful sawgrass that just kind of gives it that pop. You want a thriller, a spiller, and then a wow.
There's your gardening insight for today.
Well, thanks, Wanda, for being with us here today. And thank you for listening to our podcast. If you would like to schedule an appointment with us at Finances for Real Life, please join us on our website at financesforreallife.com. I will have the link in our show notes. You can schedule an appointment with Wanda if you'd like. And thank you for listening to today's podcast on debt consolidation. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you in the next episode. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advice offered through Finances for Real Life, a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.